Unbelievable.
Moon power. This is ironic.
Presentation there for you.
Okay.
I'm trying to drive from the bottom.
Okay.
Arrow up to where you want to be.
Oh, there we go. Wait. Oh, go back. There we go.
Okay, you ready, Trey? Let's get going.
Okay. My company is in a marine renewable energy business, or hydrokinetic power, or damless hydropower. We, just like wind turbines, we use water currents from the ocean, tides, rivers, canals, to make mechanical and electrical power. What's good about water is it's very reliable and predictable, and can be considered one of the distributed energy resources. So DER is something to remember here as I go forward to share with you 3 visions our company is acting on. Our company in New York, so if you can see this picture here, that's the East River in New York. That's Roosevelt Island. Just below that bridge there is Cornell's new high-tech campus on Roosevelt Island. The reason I wanted to see this picture is that everything we're doing in Roosevelt Island is being showcased in front of the United Nations. There's 10,000 people live on Roosevelt Island. Half of them live or work for the United Nations. And what you see up there is our project. So what you're seeing here in this picture of New York's East River is our before and after picture of our project. We're all underwater. So you don't see anything. There's no visual changes. So let me move on to say that's what we're doing. So one of our visions is to create a reliable, affordable technology. Something else to mention, just as Jeff sort of set this up, and this is going to lead to the next slides I want to share with you. The economic factors that are now driving the world's economy, it's globalization, the IT revolution, and climate change. The greatest existential threat to mankind is climate change. We have to stop building and burning coal. It's as simple as that. So the more renewable energy we can get into place, economically it's going to be better, and we can maybe help the planet as well. That leads me into this next slide. So our number 2 vision that we're acting on is this idea of once we have reliable marine systems operating, is to create integrated and hybrid power systems. In other words, what we want to do on Roosevelt Island, working with Cornell, is to island Roosevelt Island. You hear about microgrids, and what you want to do for microgrids is to have renewable energy all working together to create baseload power for that microgrid. If you create enough power, and the idea of where the world is moving is connecting microgrids to microgrids, kind of like the way the internet works. But what we want to be able to do here, though, is create enough power in Roosevelt Island that if all the other microgrids go down, it's self-sustainable. It has enough power to sustain itself. That's the idea of a microgrid. That's the idea of the concept of islanding. So you want to keep this picture in mind here. See these solar collectors covering this building here? It's a parking garage. Keep that in mind, that vision. Above here is energy storage. Con Ed loves the idea of energy storage, especially with tidal power, because Con Ed can pull on that power for New York, and because tides are so predictable, they know exactly when those batteries are going to get recharged again. That's how it could work together. And I love the concept of urban wind. So these are wind turbines, but they could be along walkways on Roosevelt Island producing power, contributing to the whole mix of what goes on Roosevelt Island. That's the idea of a hybrid power system. Another euphemism for hydropower systems are virtual power plants. And that's something that could be exported out of the United States to developing countries, this whole concept. Now, integrated, since we're in the water, I want to address the water, energy, food nexus and security. And by taking this approach I'm about to share with you, we will be addressing every single one of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or called global goals, if you will. Because once these systems are operating in the water, we can use the mechanical power as pumps to pump water out for irrigation, for clean water systems, and we can go over the reverse and pump oxygen and nutrients into the water for aquaculture. We can also create electric vehicle and electric vessel charging stations. This is what we want to do on Roosevelt Island. We could create electrolysis systems for extracting hydrogen from water for stationary fuel cells. And something else, we're in conversations now with Microsoft, Google, and Amazon.com about underwater data centers, using the chilling water to keep them cool, but we're powering those underwater. And so we have projects shaping up in Canada, the UK, Ireland, around this idea. And the idea goes further. This came from the United Nations Development Program in New York, who wants to partner with the private sector. They said it's really important to get some demonstration projects underway because they love this concept of hybrid and integrated systems. So we're going back to New York for a second. Here's the other part of Roosevelt Island. I put a little arrow down here to show where Todd's campus is. It's just beyond this side. That's where it sits. And
Can
you
you
can see,
have Todd have a waving next time, please?
I'm sorry, what?
On the bottom, just saying hi. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. But you see that green strip here? That's our tidal project. We're the first in the world to get a tidal project in the water. We're the first in the world to get a Federal Energy Regulatory Commission commercial license. And that's to build this whole field out. And what we're going to be doing, demonstrating hydropower as distributed generation, running power straight to a microgrid that's being built here in Queens, running power onto Roosevelt Island. And this is for you, Jeff. We could be covering the Motorgate parking garage with solar collectors to add to the hydrokinetic power in the water. Also, we could, at the parking garage, we could also have electric vehicle charging stations in there that we're bringing power into there. And there's wind, so it gives you the idea of what's going to be going on here at Roosevelt Island and how it all kind of comes together. We're also working with Cornell on this whole idea of understanding how people interact with marine renewable energy and renewables. And so something else that we've done as a company, our third vision that we're acting on, is how do you approach the market and how do you approach the whole concept of building sustainable communities? And so it's really taking an interdisciplinary, integrated approach to that. In other words, we want to empower the community with knowledge of what they can do, doing regional integrated resource assessments. What do they have to work with? And then take climate change in mind, and then the community sets their priority. So in other words, another way of creating an urban plan. So let me tell you a quick story about Victoria Falls and the Zambezi River Basin.
You're not electrocuting those elephants, are you?
No, those are actually Republicans frolicking in the East River.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, no, Trey, when you're sober, very.
oh, so let me tell you about this. So we go in, we're meeting with the whole South African development community. That's 15 Southern African countries. And they all agree they want to focus on Zambia and Zimbabwe and the Zambezi River Basin. We were going to go in there to create electrical power, but then we started working with the women. Talk about the 17 development goals, it's a gender issue. Securing water and energy is all about bringing economic security to a community. So what we found out is the major economic force are the women, farmers, and corn. And when elephants are on the way down to the Zambezi River, they look at cornfields as fast food snacks. So we worked with the women to design a second crop of chili peppers. And if you ring their cornfields with chili peppers, the elephants smell the peppers and they don't go into the cornfields, they just avoid it. So we will be using our systems in the water to do two things. Pumping water to water holes for the elephants so they don't wander so far. It makes it easier to protect them against poachers. Secondly, we'll be pumping irrigation water to the pepper fields to keep the elephants out of the pepper fields, so we minimize that human conflict. So that's an example of how you interface with, to Todd, your point about how you interface with the community and how you apply renewable energy in an integrated fashion. So there you go.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you
Okay.
very much. And did you go to Cornell and